It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show.
Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 388. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
You're going to be surprised when you listen to that intro again.
Grace.
Look, I'm just sad that nobody wanted to give that wolf a banana.
Kodra.
I know of an ancient radiation.
Tam.
We're going to dismember some constellations.
Thalen.
Friends, never underestimate the importance of mushrooms.
Ash. What did I screw up?
You'll get there.
Okay. So yeah, last week was Mother's Day, and also travel, and also other things, so we didn't record a show. Sorry about that.
It was a very busy weekend for most, if not everybody involved, so yeah. Yep. So we did the take the week off thing, and it was fine.
I once again attempted my classic dish that is probably still outside of my skill level, and I only screwed up 2 of the things.
Okay. I feel like that needs more explanation right there.
So I made steak Oscar, which is a filet mignon with a béarnaise sauce and some sautéed crab.
Okay.
And so
That's multiple things that you need to know what you're doing to cook them properly. So yeah.
Yes. So I was trying to use a butter basted fillet, and so I went online for a recipe, and it was like, okay, sear each side of the fillet on a really hot skillet in some they said grapeseed oil. I used vegetable oil because I figured it wouldn't be that different. Like, it was a high smoke point oil, both of those are. And then I seared it like for 2 or 3 minutes on each side. And then I butter basted it for 6 minutes. And they said, stick it in the oven for 6 minutes at 425 and it'll come out medium rare. And that did not come out medium rare. That came out well done. I should have temped it before I put it in. It probably was medium rare in the skillet.
They maybe had it thicker than you did or something.
Maybe. They were pretty thick. I mean, they were the properly sized cuts for a filet mignon. Maybe my stovetop might get more intense than their stovetop.
That's entirely possible too.
I have a low end commercial grade. I have a low end commercial grade stovetop.
Yeah, your settings probably do not map to theirs.
Yeah, it's like 18,000 BTUs on this burner I was using. So I probably got like the good news is it was well done, but it was well done in that it wasn't dried out and it was still tasty.
Well, that seems fine.
And,
yeah, so good, well done.
And the other thing that I did was I absolutely didn't separate the béarnaise, which I normally do, but it was like it was so thick it was like a compound butter. I probably should have heated it up. I'm so used to, like, if I try and apply heat to a béarnaise after it's set, it'll break, but this was actually really well incorporated. And like the next day we used it and I like heated it up in the microwave and it came out perfect. So I just needed to do that, and this sauce would have been fine. But it was a really tasty dinner.
It sounds delicious. It sounds significantly more delicious than the thing I imagined in my head, which was a steak with Oscar Mayer wieners on it.
I mean, I'd eat it.
I mean, I would too, but I'm not fancy.
I'd wonder about the chef who prepared this, but I'd eat it.
I'd wonder if the chef was like a 6-year-old. But anyway, yeah, so
Wow.
that went weird places in my head.
Man, if you want cooking with Kodra, I've got cooking with Kodra stuff. I love cooking now. It's one of those things where when my wife was pregnant with our son, she could not cook, and she was like, Kodra, we're either eating out every single night or you're learning how to cook, and I decided I was going to learn how to cook, and so I really love it now.
I mean, it's applied chemistry. It's great.
I mean, it's like it's the classic, dudes in their 30s thing. You
It's
either
true.
get really into cooking, you get really into Civil War reenactment, you get really into board games, or you start a podcast.
Oh man, 3 out of 4.
Or maybe 3 of those. Jeez.
I'm so stereotypical. That's not true. I was really into board games well before I turned 30.
Yeah, legit.
I don't know what age I was when we started the podcast.
I think
I'm
I
feeling
was
called out.
I was definitely. This podcast has been going on for 8 years now.
You and I were in our
This is our
30s,
eighth
Bell.
year.
Yeah, we were in our 30s.
Yeah.
We're in our late
I was
30s.
gonna say I wasn't 30 yet.
We are not in our 30s now.
Yo, we're very not in our 30s. I'm about to this year in June, I can no longer say I'm in my early 30s. I will be entering my late 30s or late
Early
40s.
you mean?
Yeah. I will be entering my late 40s.
Yep.
Anyway, so we have a whole list of topics. I do not know how far we're gonna get.
Welcome to our podcast about stuff and things.
This is what happens when we don't record a podcast. Suddenly, everyone has things to talk about.
Well, and more importantly, we all want to chat with each other because we didn't get to last week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pent up. I believe I think this is a Grace topic. Yes, it is. Pachinko and Roguelike.
Yes. 2 words that go great together.
I want to
Apparently.
hear about this.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Apparently. So, I mean, I'm in a phase where I just don't have the mental bandwidth to play a super engaging long-term game. Like, MMOs are not for me right now. I just need something I can hop into, hang out with, and then, put down. And Steam coincidentally recently had a sale on roguelikes. And I thought, great, maybe I'll find something that I could bounce in and out of. And I saw this bundle of 2 Pachinko roguelikes bundled at a sale price and thought, this looks weird. So the first game that I tried is called Peglin. I think it's still early access. It's an adorable little pixel art goblin, and you basically it's a pachinko style game, a sort of a little bit like Breakout style, where you're just aiming your little pinball and watching it bounce around.
I saw this and it reminded me a bit of Peggle.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, when you described this, I was thinking Peggle.
Mm-hmm. Just accumulating your points, but then once you've got them, then at the top of the screen, your little goblin will shoot whatever type of attack is associated with your ball at the enemies on the top of the screen. And so you fight your way through a couple different zones with different kinds of adorable pixel enemies, and it's pretty great. I hope that there's a little more coming. I think there were about 3 zones before it said that I was done, but it's just really cute and fun. The power-ups are entertaining. The random roguelike stuff that happens to you is fairly entertaining. And you can just get a little zen bouncing your pinballs around. It was exactly what I needed when I bought this game, and I would definitely highly recommend it. And then the second game, so I basically exhausted myself on Peglin and then decided to try the other game, which is called Roundgaurd. And that one is a little more complete. And I haven't made it quite as far in that one. but also adorable, very different art style from Peglin, and slightly different game mechanic style. So in this one, your ball is your character, and as they bounce around, they are attacking, hitting enemies that are essentially the pegs. And you get magical attacks or other attacks that you can shoot while you're bouncing around. So it's a little bit more dynamic. A little bit, there's a little more you can do, actively while your ball is in play, which is
What was the name of this one?
Roundgaurd.
Okay,
I
yes,
saw this at PAX.
I have played this. I remember seeing it at PAX. Yes, I love this one.
Yeah, it's really cute. It was a lot of fun. As I said, I haven't made it quite as far through this one, but it seems like there's also just a lot more to it because the other one was early access. So again, would highly recommend. Just the little characters are cute. Their little voices are cute, and
They're just having a good time.
yes, bouncing around, murdering goblins and skeletons and things.
Okay. I have to ask: have you made any sense of the narrative wrapper of that one?
No, I was trying to think about this when I put this on the list for tonight because it's very difficult to explain. It's like we're putting on a show or
It's like
something.
a play, but also a game show.
Yeah.
And fantasy? I don't know, but it works.
It's fine, and I love the little characters that you get when you're in between the scenes or the levels. I don't care that it doesn't make any sense to me. It's really cute. But yeah, so both of these games are cute in their own way. I think Peglin is definitely a little bit more zen, and I can't wait to see what else gets added as it gets sort of closer to completion. And Roundguard is also super fun, and I can't wait to actually make my way through the whole game. I think I just got to the point where I unlocked the 4th character type, so I haven't even tried that yet. So I have a lot in front of me.
I really enjoy Roundguard. I forgot to even. It's one of those things that I've been playing it on and off for a bit, but sort of slipped my mind. Yeah, no, it's super fun. I need to try the other one too now.
Yeah, I definitely. If you like Roundguard, definitely try Peglin. And I mean, it's just I love pinball games, and while this isn't pinball, it scratches a very similar itch.
I have a game you might want to try for the pinball itch. It's called Yoku's Island.
Yoku's Island Express?
Yes, I am. Yoku's Island Express. And it's basically a pinball platformer kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it other than that.
Tell me more.
I've only played a little bit of it, but you're a postmaster and you're delivering mail, but also you're like a little beetle on a rock, and you're ping-ponging around the map using pinball to hit objectives. I don't know, Ash, have you played it?
I have played it a bit.
Yeah, I've played a little bit of it.
Is what if Metroidvania but pinball?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, yep, I'm here for that.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass right now, so I played a little bit of it the other night.
It is also very on sale on Steam right now.
You probably if you habitually claim games from services, you probably have a copy of it lying around somewhere.
That also might be true, yes.
Oh yeah, there's a huge Team 17 sale going on right now.
Yeah.
And this is Team 17.
Yeah, it's cute. It's pinball, but also an adventure game, kind of. Yeah, it's worth checking out.
Yeah, it is very on sale, and it is about to be in my Steam library.
Okay, this is a Thalen topic. Squirrelgirl.
Yes.
Should be a Disney Plus show?
I mean, yes, should. But since that didn't happen, so obviously our podcast is the best podcast. But when you're not listening to our podcast, you should consider checking out Squirrelgirl's Unbeatable radio show, in which Squirrelgirl and her friends have a call-in radio show on student radio at Empire State University.
Are her friends squirrels?
One of them is. Tippy Toe's a squirrel. Chipmunk, Hunk, and Koi Boy are not squirrels. They are boys who can have the powers of and can talk to chipmunks and koi, well, fish in general, respectively. And Nancy Whitehead has no superpowers, but she's awesome. She loves knitting and cats. But this is so basically the actress that was going to play Squirrel Girl in the show that got canceled is playing Squirrel Girl for this. And she is perfect for Squirrel Girl. This basically like picks up after the end of the Squirrel Girl ongoing series that ran for a few years, written by Ryan North. You don't need to have read any of that to understand anything here. Just like that's the timeline it's in. It's taking place in the comics timeline, not the MCU. But also you should read Squirrel Girl because it's amazing and it's all on Marvel Unlimited and it's really, really good. And it's about a superhero who is also a computer science student who when she fights villains, more often than not, figures out how to help the villains and make them better people because she's more interested in like truly doing good than just having a big fight. Unless it's Thanos or Doctor Doom, she'll beat them up.
I mean, I do feel like I feel like I missed this. So Squirrel Girl got canceled. When did that happen?
I mean, so basically there was a New Warriors show that was in the works for quite a while, and Squirrel Girl was going to be one of the characters in it. And Milana Van Troop was going to play her. And then the New Warriors show just kind of quietly got shuffled off and apparently isn't happening. So instead we have this, where she has a radio show with her good friends. And they take calls sometimes from students and occasionally other superheroes like Iron Man and Spider-Man have both called in. Various celebrities have called in. Patton Oswalt called in. John Hodgman did. Leah Thompson did. And established it is in fact canonical. It was already canonical from the Howard the Duck comic that she was the star of the big Howard the Duck biopic in the Marvel 616.
I love Howard the Duck for all the wrong reasons because like it's a nostalgic piece of my history, not because it's an amazing movie.
Oh, the movie was terrible. The comic is fantastic. The very best caller, however, is Eric, who has called in on multiple shows and keeps calling in because it's a student-run radio show, and obviously these must be Charles's students, and he needs Charles to assist him. He needs Charles to send that Bobby Drake over to assist him with his air conditioning.
Oh my god!
And it's wonderful.
This is starting to sound like Corpline.
It's so good.
So speaking of podcasts, if you've never listened to Corpline's
great.
It's the best thing ever. It's a loading ready run mock podcast.
I mean, it is a podcast. It's like
it's set in the fictional town of Innsbruck.
Yep. They are G-Star and A-Train, which is Alex and Graham, doing those voices. And then they have a whole cast of characters, and it's just like really small town politics mixed with weirdness.
Oh boy.
I mean, it reminds me of like the way that Simpsons slowly evolved like Springfield by introducing a bunch of characters, but then having them keep reoccurring and having their own lives, but you're not actually seeing all of their lives. There's that thing going on in the back of this podcast. Like there's all these characters that are having like canonical events happen to them.
And they have, for example, they have their various local festivals. They have like in the fall, it's time for everyone to go to the corn maze.
Oh boy.
I don't get it. Is it made of corn or is it made of maize?
Oh no.
Yeah.
There's the leader is the Oldersmen. There's a secret pipesman organization. Is their secret society that operates out of the town hall, the bar, not the town hall. Oh, it's really funny.
Yeah, there's a bunch of episodes too. So like
it's done in it's very much improv, like it's pseudo improv where like maybe they have some beats planned, but not everyone knows what's going to happen, and so they like include room breaks where like somebody brings something up and everyone just is unprepared and cracks up. But it's very fun. I love it.
So, in weird happenings this week, CCP, the maker of EVE Online, is apparently partnering with Microsoft so that they can directly export all the things you want to have in spreadsheets from the game.
I mean, they know their audience.
There was much cheering.
It's
Spreadsheets in
spreadsheets in
space.
space. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just know what you're about.
This is also off LRR, but they I forget who described it as this, but like that EVE has become less a game and more a social activity for data analysts.
I think they said that on Checkpoint.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that sounds likely.
But
I
it's
think
just
that's
funny.
accurate,
Like
yeah.
it's hilarious. Like there's a crossover between Excel and EVE. Sweet.
Perhaps
I just appreciated that they had like the crossover event screen slideshow
Exactly.
for it.
was Clippy
like-
involved.
And it's like now introducing a new brand tie-in, and it's like the logo for Eve and then the Excel logo.
Yeah, it's like EVE X Excel.
It's the most honest crossover in history.
Yeah.
That is not a collab I had expected, but you know, it makes sense.
They have a thing and they're leaning into it. It's
Yeah,
great.
they know their audience. I mean, and in the not knowing an audience term, I think someone has replaced me with someone else.
Oh,
I'm not exactly sure when this happened, but I'm pretty sure it happened.
Yeah, I've been having some concerns.
Yeah, same.
I mean, like, okay, yeah, I mean, the fact that I'm logged into an Elementalist right now, and it's 77, and it is the finger wiggliest class in Guild Wars 2 is also a thing.
There's two legitimately melee weapons, and elite specs entirely devoted to those, but that means you don't have them because you're not 80.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not 80. Yeah,
But
But-
eventually, you can have a big hammer, and
I can.
it'll be really cool.
But I've been PvPing, like, a lot.
now do you mean PvPing or
Yes,
world
he
No.
does.
building?
Like, literally PvPing. I am PvPing every
Wow.
day. I am doing... So the whole path of madness started with the fact that, like, I decided World v World was kind of fun. I never
Yeah.
thought I would do World v World, because it is also a PvP. But, like, I've spent a lot of time. This week I got to platinum chess in World v World.
That is
I
impressive.
Been a
That's
lot
a
of
bit of
time in
time.
World v World. Like, it has become my de facto chilling out activity. Just running around and harassing some people with a ranger, with longbow. But also, Thalen is our keeper of upgrades. I don't know what we should call you. He is the one that reminds us that these are things we need. I was also that person for a while too. So, or at
Yeah,
least
for the guild hall.
for the guild hall, yeah. So one of the things that he kept bringing up that we really needed to find is someone who liked PvP, because we need like 500 total PvP potions, something like that.
I mean, for absolutely everything, it'll be even more than that. But a lot
Yeah.
of those go towards making the arena, and I don't,
Yeah, we
know
don't
how
need
important
arena.
that is. Like maybe one day, but there are waypoint discounts that give you a discount every time you use a waypoint, which is a thing you do a lot in this
Oh
game.
my goodness, yeah.
And I have these on my other guilds, but I don't want to represent those guilds.
Oh, I'll go do some PvP for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to get those discounts, each of the upgrades takes some tomes of knowledge, some badges of tribute, which are from World v World, and easily purchasable, and potions of PvP reward, which are non-tradable, and you get them from doing PvP dailies and like.
There's basically two
there's
ways
other
to get
stuff,
it.
but
There's
yeah, tournaments.
either do your PvP dailies or PvP in an obsessive amount. You will occasionally get them from doing other things in PvP.
And basically, these are potions that work the same way the potions of World v. World rewards do. They advance, whatever reward track you've got going. But also, you can throw them in the guild treasury, and then eventually we can have discounts.
So that put the thing in my head, the bug in my head, like, I should do this thing. Also, the other side of this is I need an excessive amount of Mystic Clovers. I don't really want to gamble for Mystic Clovers because that sounds like misery.
I mean, eventually you will, but
eventually, but like I almost have enough Mystic Clovers from doing rewards tracks in World v. World.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not realize that I can do those exact same reward tracks in PvP as well.
Yep. All those tracks exist as a World v. World and a PvP track.
So
and those non-repeatable tracks, those are lucrative.
So I am slowly working my way through Drizzlewood in the PvP track so that I can get all those tasty, tasty Mystic Clovers.
Does that include the Gift of Battle track?
Well, Gift of Battle is repeatable anyway.
Oh, is it?
I mean, it does have 2 clovers in it, but...
Yeah, like Drizzlewood has, 15 clovers, something like that. 20 clovers? I don't know. It's a large number.
Yeah. But basically, anytime new zones are added to the game, there's usually at least one reward track added, and there'll be a non-repeatable version of it typically. And then once you complete that, that'll unlock a repeatable version, which is not as lucrative, but is still has rewards.
Well, and I think it's just generic because I now have one called Icebrood Saga, which is repeatable, and I assume there's going to be a version of that for all the other ones that I do. I'm working on Bitterfrost now. I'm working on my 6th reward track in World v. World. But yeah, so like the combination of, hey Belle, you should do the thing for the guild that the guild needs and do some PvP because you're good at ignoring shit for a while that's annoying you. Also, you should have some Mystic Clovers because you don't want to gamble for them. And the combination thereof has meant that like every day for the last, I don't know how long, about a week and a half maybe, I have been doing dailies in PvP, which means every day I am farming up 3 to 4 potions. Like, it is a slow grind, but it also means like I'm making little bits of progress and I'm actually getting better at PvP.
So how does this PvP stuff work?
So there's 2 modes, and one of which you don't want to do because it's annoying. So there's Stronghold, which is basically a hyper-condensed version of Summoner's Rift from League of Legends.
Okay.
But instead of the creeps auto-spawning, you have to summon the creeps. So basically you like send creeps down a lane to break a door and then kill the lord inside the door. And whoever does that fastest wins or hits some score target. I don't remember what the score target is. That's the one that I don't like.
I mean, I gather in general that's the less popular mode.
I mean, there's only one map for it, so I assume it's not terribly popular. They do multiple maps for it. The other one that they have a bajillion maps for is Conquest, which is basically capture the flag.
I mean, I thought that was the capture point mode, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a capture the flag type thing. Where
I feel like when you say capture the flag, I'm envisioning something different.
Yeah, you're capturing points, not running flags, right?
Right, you're capturing points. Sorry, this is a Destiny thing did to me because people will refer to control in Destiny as capture the flag, but it's really
isn't in any way.
It isn't. It's just a control point. Like it's a control point.
And Destiny made one of the best capture the flag games,
and then stopped supporting it.
Well, they lost control of those rights.
But yeah, so there was a Destiny 1 mode that was capture the flag that they really never brought over to Destiny 2. But anyway, so it's a control point mode, and every map has some other objective that you care about. Like, there's one that I like, Niflheim Forest or Niffle something Forest, where every so often 2 NPCs spawn, and whoever kills them gets 25 points just straight added to their score.
I know one of the maps has space lasers because That's one of the things that
Yes.
can happen in fractals.
Yes.
The space lasers from that map start blasting you.
Yep. They'll charge their lasers. There's one where a ship comes into the harbor and I think it'll like bombard a target. Yeah, there's a bunch of things. I don't know. There's like a dozen or so maps, but that's the one that I do. And you know, when you queue up for it, you vote on one of 3 maps, and then it randomizes its pick based on who all voted for it.
How do you access this? Is it like just in a menu like World v World?
Yeah, so at the top of the screen, there are the cross swords icon, and what you want to do first is you want to click the Enter PvP lobby, because you're going to need to set up your PvP build. Cool thing about PvP is you can build whatever the hell you want. Weapons and gear don't matter. You get to equip an amulet. I think it's an amulet slot. I don't know. It's a single slot that represents an entire set of gear, and they just let you choose whichever one you want. You have access to all content that you have paid for. So, like, if you're a level 1,
based on what your what expansions you own, basically.
Yep. Yeah, like if you're a level 1 character and you own all the expansions, you can walk in there and you can build anything. And that build
There are some exceptions, like there is no celestial amulet. There used to be one. It was overpowered.
Well, I mean, yeah, like you have to choose one of the other things other than the jack of all trades items. But yeah, like if you want to go Berserker, you just equip the Berserker amulet. If you want to go Marauder, you equip the Marauder amulet. If you want Vipers, you know, so on, so on. You have access to all of the things that you could build per the expansions you own. So if you want to go in there and play with something that you don't have hero points to unlock yet, you can go do that. And they've got like PvP lobby is probably the thing that everyone should be using if you don't have mislock, because it's free and you can teleport to it and teleport out of it, and it works just like mislock, where it returns you to wherever you were previously. The only thing that's really missing is no Mystic Forge and no craft machines. It's got a bank, it's got a trading post, it's got vendors, it's got a bajillion different target dummies with different scenarios. So yeah, I mean, like you go in there, you set up your build, and then you're running that while you're in PvP. And honestly, like it's pretty painless. And I feel like we have talked about this or talked around this point before, but I don't hate PvP. I hate a very specific design mindset. And that mindset is you should only get rewards if you're really good at something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's generally how PvP is set up in games, to where you are either penalized for being bad with repair bills or something like that, or
you only get rewarded.
You only get rewards if you're winning. And that sucks. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to potentially waste my time if I'm not going to get rewarded. But like the thing that Guild Wars does really well is, both in World versus World and in PvP, is you're kind of lavish with rewards for just doing it.
I will say it is kind of weird to me how much more lavished you are with rewards once you have earned experience there. Like, the best way to get more pips is to just be higher World v World rank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, it is a ball that you have to start rolling down a hill. And like, I'm rank 36, and it still feels like pips don't really go
they don't
fast
start
enough.
coming faster until like you're 150.
Yeah,
But,
that
like,
adds 1 to your pips per tick.
But
I mean,
also, like, if you're rolling with a group, I don't know, like I can do 2 world ranks for a daily in, I don't know, an hour at most.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm rolling with a group that's actually doing stuff, honestly, like the thing that I have learned is defending is really more beneficial experience-wise than capturing objectives and not being fought against.
Yeah, if you've got a place where the enemy is actually actively trying to take it, yeah.
And that was not something that I realized at first. Like at first I thought, oh, I need to be in one of these groups that's just rolling objectives. And you're really not gaining as much experience doing that as you are sitting in a location and actually doing fights, doing a PvP. And I think that's what gravitated me towards the Ranger, is it was a really good behind the walls harass class when I put longbow on it. And with greatsword, I can still be somewhat useful up close and personal.
More than somewhat, Ranger Greatsword is real good.
Yeah, I mean, like I could get out of most matches with either a win or me escaping to fight another day.
Yeah, that Greatsword charge, you can just leave.
Right. Well, and my swiftness, I can also just leave. Like Rangers have a lot of tricks to get out of the way.
Like they're probably the second hardest to catch if they don't want to be behind perma stealth rogues.
I gotta tell you, bane of my existence, freaking mesmers.
I mean, everybody's existence.
They will make you waste your good attacks on their crap clones.
Yep.
It's real annoying. They also have a way of making you think like you're fighting way more things.
Yeah, because all the ones show up as dots on the map. So
right,
you're like, oh my gosh, there's like 5 dots over there. I
Exactly.
stay away from that.
Like it's the thing is if you're just fighting a mesmer, you realize you're fighting a mesmer. But like if you've got several mesmers in amongst a bunch of other things, it immediately thinks you're fighting like a squad of 30. Yeah. But yeah, like this is what I'm talking about. I am killing things, namely other people. And this is not a thing I do. I don't know what happened to me. I should seek help, I think.
We all hope that you get well soon.
Because, yeah, I mean, like, this is just not my MO. I have published many a treatise on my blog about how PvP games are awful. Oops. And the thing is this kind of makes me want to try some other things to see if they're also palatable. And I'm gonna think probably they won't be, but because like the thing is like when New World came out and they added in Outpost Rush, I actually liked Outpost Rush until they destroyed any benefit if you lose. Because like it used to be pretty reasonable to like, oh, I'm just gonna go do some Outpost Rush and get rewarded one way or the other. I'm not gonna get rewarded as much if I lose, but I'm gonna get rewarded. So sweet. And then they nerfed that into the ground because people were AFKing. Anyway, now for the other part of this, I am exceptionally jealous of Kodra right now.
Oh yeah, I got a Skyscale. This game also has really fun grinds. Like it doesn't do a great job of messaging them. This one it does a better job of. But like you're like, hey, I'm gonna unlock the Skyscale. I'm gonna go talk to this NPC, and they're gonna put me on this really long quest to fly around the world and go do a bunch of different cool things. And you tick off all of the map locations, and it's pretty straightforward. Like it's a lot of time investment. It's a lot of different locations to go find as you are working your way through this story where you are befriending and raising this tiny cute Skyscale into being a full-grown dragon that you can ride. And it's really funny when it becomes a moody teenager dragon and wants to go to all of the most annoying locations in the game.
Yes.
And then fly off as soon as you get close to them because it just wants to be left alone. But yeah, it was not that bad of a grind, thanks to the fact that the return to achievement now gives you the zone currency you need at the 3rd tier.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, so I had done basically like I had done all of the return tos except the first 2 because I had came back to the game after they went in. So I mostly was done when I got to that step. I understand it was very miserable before.
That was by far the part that took me the longest. It was just farming up that currency.
Yep.
I've done half of the currency, but yes, I'm going to be doing return for the rest of the currency.
But yeah, it's a fun thing. You get to watch a bar progress. This game is very good at that. Like this game, like I also did a ton of World v World to get my Warclaw and Gift of Battle. And yeah, I just got to watch a bunch of bars progress as I played the game, and that felt good.
Well, and like getting that war claw feels so good from that point on.
Yes.
Like, I now have a mountain PvP. This is great.
You've got a Skyscale. You can fly.
Yeah, it's real nice. Speaking of fun to do collections, may I recommend The Convergence of Sorrow if you haven't already done it. It's fantastic and tells a really cool story. And when you finish it, you get a full set of grieving gear for for your choice of armor weights.
My problem is I get easily distracted. Like that is my biggest enemy when it comes to completing any of these things. Is I've been doing PvP. I've been doing World versus World. I could have spent time doing things that finish objectives, but I don't know. Like, I've just had to decide I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with not always progressing all the things. Because if I really allowed myself to get into FOMO mode in this game, like, I would probably quit. But at the same token, none of the things are really blocking me from doing anything. So I can kind of take my time at it knowing that they're not going to go away.
Yep.
Like, I will eventually get a Skyscale. Like, that'll be a thing that I obsess over at some point. I've already got, like, part of a griffin done.
That's the one I've made, like, no progress on whatsoever.
I've completed one of the zones getting eggs. And
I tend to use the griffin less than the Skyscale, but it can be pretty handy sometimes. It's good for getting across the map real fast.
Yeah, the griffin is, and the roller beetle are my. Ooh, I want to make that event.
Yeah,
I do not have my roller beetle yet.
the roller beetle is also great, and you are also like interacting with Goric through the whole thing. So that's a plus.
Yes.
Goric is great.
Goric is definitely a character who gets some glow ups.
Goric is somebody that I immediately did not like, and then has grown on me.
Yeah. I was real unsure about Goric when he was first introduced, but spending time with Timey has been good for him.
Yep.
And for her.
He's also been through some stuff.
He has.
Yeah, like I want to do that. I have looked up all the things that I need to do. I think I've got the first couple collections started. I've just not made a ton of progress with it because I need to spend time in a zone that I don't spend much time in.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly all in Dragonfall, isn't it?
The Skyscale or
Yeah, Skyscale.
Skyscale starts in Dragonfall, but that's just the first collection.
Okay.
That's just getting hold of an egg. It's worldwide. You're going everywhere.
I've also kind of stalled out on End of Dragons. Because I think the last thing I did was one of the do some stuff to unlock the next thing. And I did some stuff, and then I just didn't pick back up.
You should do that at some point.
New Cunning City is kind of dense, and it is awkward to traverse. And
you know what's real helpful for that? A Skyscale.
That's the problem.
I thought you were going to say Jade Bot.
You
Bot
just
also
described the problem that I have, is I get so easily distracted. And this game is basically if you give a mouse a cookie.
It is.
Because you go out to the wiki to find out how you get, X item, and you find out that you need Y item. And in order to get Y item, you need like Z. And in order to get Z, you need to go do this thing that you've not even touched.
The other thing that's real helpful for getting around New Cunning is a griffin, because you can just go up to the highest point in the city and fly anywhere.
I just want out of New Cunning City. Like I want to get to somewhere else. Like, because New Cunning City is delightful, but it's also kind of a lot.
Yeah.
It feels like the cities it's based off of.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Old Cunning was based on the Kowloon Walled City.
Right, and that is also a lot. Okay, so I think we've talked about this before, at least once. Die?
Yes. So we talked about Die, the comic, which is still amazing and on Comixology, and you should read it because it's 20 issue comic by Kieran Gillen, written by Kieran Gillen, and the basic premise is, what if the kids from the D&D cartoon had a terrible time and then made it back, and then years later got sucked back in. And it's really cool. And in the process of making this comic, and over the course of making it, and since then, he created the entire RPG system that it uses, the dice system, and did a lot of beta testing for it and everything. And now it is in Kickstarter, and it's already pulled in $250,000, and I think their goal was like 30,000. So it's doing real good. So it's something worth checking out. It's a really cool system where you first create the real world people who are going to get pulled into the game, and then then decide which character classes they'll be in the game, and use the game as a way for these people to work through their issues. And also, it has a really cool system where in general, it is a D6 system. You roll a pool of D6s, and fours are better, or successes. More successes are better. But then also, there is exactly one set of polyhedral dice in the game, and each person gets one of them. If you are the game master, you are playing the master, and you get the D20. If you are playing the dictator, you get the D4. If you're playing the grief knight, you get the D8. Or I'm sorry, the emotion knight. It's not just grief. You choose multiple emotions. And if you are playing the fool, you get a D6. It's just like every other D6 in the game. There's nothing special about it. The fool does get to write on his D6, and that's how he does things. But so the top tier reward, which they are already completely out of, they're looking at seeing if they can make more of these available, because they did not expect them to go so fast, includes a really, really nice set of dice where the D20 is like obsidian, and all the other dice are like holographic dice that shimmer and everything, except for the fool's dice. The fool gets like the cheapest D6 they can find, like a D6 pulled out of a Monopoly box. And you'll also get a fancy D6 to go with the rest of the set that you can taunt them with. So yeah, it's a really neat system. The beta tests are all still like out on the internet, so you can look at it, the steps that it's gone through up to this point, and how the basic system works. And I don't know, it's a really neat Kickstarter. The art's beautiful. I gave them money. So yeah, check it out.
Okay. So this next topic has been a bit of a charged topic in the Final Fantasy community. To the point of I don't know, causing all kinds of weird rifts to open. But it has been a known thing that third-party tools and add-ons are not allowed in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, you're not allowed to use them. If they catch you using them, they will ban you. But they're also not going to go out of their way to check your machine for stuff. So if you will just be cool, everything will be fine.
Mostly.
And the entire time Final Fantasy XIV has been going along, that has been the rule. It's just you just be cool about it. But then came a bunch of streamers who have no chill.
Well, so I think there's a lot of things.
More than that.
I think there's a lot of things happening at once. So Final Fantasy,
the races have become more of a thing.
Yeah, the competitive rating scene has become more of a thing than it ever was.
There is also one at all, so yeah.
Also, at the same time, there has been this mass influx of players from World of Warcraft, which is a game with a hyper-competitive raid scene, and also has been an ever-escalating path of warfare of add-ons versus content. And this all has kind of reached a head. So add-ons are enough of a thing in the world's first race that most of the teams that are pushing for world first have at least one Lua programmer on staff to tweak raid calls between attempts.
In World of Warcraft.
In World of Warcraft. That is just a thing. So Limit has someone that updates the add-ons, and then they push them out to everybody before the next attempt. That's just a thing. That's become part of the world's first race.
Wow.
So you take that mindset and apply it to Final Fantasy XIV, there's been an escalation of a bunch of add-ons that are not just like DPS meters. I saw a video of one this week that shows one of the ultimates, but like it's drawing circles on the ground before the circles on the ground are being drawn to show you where the circles are gonna go.
Yeah, because one of the things about Final Fantasy XIV raid fights is they don't have a lot of randomness. Like they're very reliable. Like at this, this many seconds into the fight, this attack will be used, or one of these two attacks will be used, and then the other one of the two will be used. Like that's about as random as it gets.
Yeah, I mean,
I bet they can predict a lot of stuff.
Yep. I mean, because Final Fantasy fights have always been a choreographed dance that you have to do perfectly. And like the degree of have to do perfectly increases as you go up in challenge. Like, and to do an ultimate, like everybody has to do it perfectly or you wipe. Whereas the degree of margin is significantly higher at, the lower tiers of difficulty, like to where you can have lots of people fail and recover fine.
Because let's be clear, ultimates are intended to be like a challenge for the same sort of people that were doing Coil Savage back when that was top tier content.
And for the same, no actual reward other than cosmetics.
Yes.
But those cosmetics have become heavily valued in the community. So yeah, like there's this whole, there's a lot more add-ons than there were. And you also have a group of folks that, like me, I've not run a clean WoW since 2005. Like I've run some kind of heavily modded interface since the first year of WoW. And there's never been a time I've run it vanilla other than Friends and Family Alpha when add-ons wouldn't work for it.
I'm so torn on the whole mods thing. Like I remember starting to see like the things that people would do with WoW mods, and I was like, this seems like a bad idea. I'm surprised they let people do this.
Yeah.
And like at one level I get it. People would like to make the game, do and show them exactly the things that they want in exactly the way that they want. It's like the ultimate customization experience. But boy, can you break things if you're allowed to do that.
You can program out the necessity for you to do stuff other than press a single button.
Because decursive was one of those first things where I was like, oh yeah, this is a bad idea. This isn't ever going to get better. This is just going to be a game of whack-a-mole forever.
And that's really what happened, is it became a game of whack-a-mole to where let's design the encounters to make it still difficult when you're running add-ons that are telling you exactly what you need to do.
Or
and then anybody who isn't running those add-ons, well, they're just out of luck.
Yeah, or just figure out which add-ons you're breaking this patch and see and hope that the add-ons don't figure out a new way around it. But it's just considered de rigueur at this point. And I don't know, one of the things about games is that like transparently, when you make a video game, if you are a video game designer, you are creating artificial challenges on a variety of like axes.
Yeah.
And removing it's like, Street Fighter is based on your ability to memorize and input complex inputs, and Smash Brothers largely removes those in order to perform basic actions, but it's a very different game with its own set of challenges and mechanics that lean into them and so forth. But like if you had Street Fighter with one button specials, it would not be the same game that you're playing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, to try this, by the way, it exists. It's called.
It does exist.
It is
and
very
it's not
different.
great. It's
Also,
not a great
yes, I don't
game.
think it's very good, but
That's a side topic. But the thing is okay, so like I am a proponent of mods. Like I mod all of the games I can. I've never once had the desire to mod Final Fantasy XIV because out of the box, it gave me the ability to do the things that are most of what I want from mods, which is shifting elements around on the screen and Like, the two killer things that like I can't stand to play World of Warcraft without is something that gives me a rearranged HUD so that health bars are front and center and my abilities are front and center, and also all of my bags are a single bag.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Like,
that's
those
just
are the
built
two
in.
things that I just have to play an MMO.
Is
And-
there a built-in bag, like all-in-one bag thing in
No.
FF14?
In 14,
Yes,
yeah.
there is.
Oh yeah.
No, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
just make all your bags show up on one.
Yeah, like I tend to forget that. Oh yeah, there's technically like separate bags or whatever. I don't. Yeah.
I do forget that's not the default.
Right. Yeah, I've been running it since day one. Like, I just assume that that's what it looks like. But like 14 allowed me to rearrange my stuff so that visually it makes more sense for me. But you can't do that. And, basically for years, WoW has abdicated the ability to have a reasonable UI to the mod makers. Like, that's just a thing they've not tried to chase because there are mods for that. And this next expansion is going to bring in the first significant mod update, which makes me wonder if they're going to start like locking down on some of the functionality you can do with mods, because you'll now have a UI that you can move stuff around freely, resize things, basically the Final Fantasy 14 UI. So
Yeah.
I do wonder if the next World of Warcraft expansion is also going to ratchet down the add-ons a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, similarly, I've never been particularly like tempted to install any mods in Final Fantasy. Yeah, because I just never needed them. Like, I mean, honestly, the majority of the mods that I'm aware of are DPS meters. I don't care, and cosmetic stuff. That fine. And the people who want that, they can install it, and it's only affecting their. That's the other thing, is it's stuff that's only affecting them in that case. And sure, whatever.
Well, I mean,
But-
there's an add-on, and I won't say the name of the add-on because, but I have known about it for a really long time because like I've heard people talking about it. And before the influx of WoW Raiders, it was real rudimentary. Like it could do some basic stuff, but like it was real rudimentary. And now it's been basically turned into Deadly Boss Mobs 2.0.
Oh, geez.
Like it does full raid callouts. I mean, basically everything that DBM does exists now in Final Fantasy 14. And I think that is the line that has been crossed that is leading to some crackdown. So to get to the point that happened this last week that I probably should have led with is there were two high-profile bannings. One in the Japanese community and one in the English-speaking community of someone on stream running add-ons during, I think they were both world first tries, and they got sent to the jail on stream
Well,
where you get teleported to basically a room where you can't move your character out of it until a time of the ban has elapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And, so like you can see one of the people and they get stuck in this room and they're there for a little bit before like a GM appears to explain to them the situation. And like, it's a real dramatic animation when the GM appears.
I've seen a few videos of this.
Yeah.
It's real funny. Cause like, yeah, this is to kind of instill fear, I think.
I mean, it's a literal jail
Yeah, it's a little jail.
that they just kind of send you to.
But yeah, so there's a couple things. Like, there's discussion about whether or not these two people were brigaded, and it was mass reports. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a shot across the bow, because if you ban somebody high profile on the Japanese community and you ban somebody high profile on the English speaking side, that's going to get the word around.
I mean, I if these people were doing world first attempts, like I had to suspect that some people in Squeenix would be paying some attention because they would be interested.
Well,
and might have just noticed that, oh, they're using mods. That's not cool.
well, so what's happened is there's a lot of uproar in the console community because they feel like PC raiders have an unfair advantage now.
Because of mods?
Because of mods. I mean, PC already has a slightly unfair advantage because you can run the game at a higher frame rate than you can on a console. But, like, the fact that mods are now a thing and are trivializing certain aspects of the encounters, I know that the whole point of prohibiting add-ons in part is to keep it equally competitive on console and PC, because like that has been a thing that Yoshi P's mentioned numerous times, is he wants everything to be doable on both. And I'm sure there's a large community of console only players in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a thing, and I chose violence and wrote about it, and I have been lit up about my opinions, because my opinion is ban every streamer that's showing out mods. Just ban them all.
I mean, as long as I've been playing this game, like, you didn't talk about Fight Club. Like, that was the rule. Everybody knew that.
You started talking about
new.
Fight Club. Here's the consequences. But, I mean, the thing that sucks, though, is eventually Square is going to install Easy Anti-Cheat. They already use Easy Anti-Cheat in other Square games. Like, that is probably going to be a thing that comes along and starts snooping for third-party tools.
Yep. And that's going to step on all the people that are just doing reshaders or texture swaps and, Bard mods. And
right. The people that are going to get screwed are the ones that we want to be able to run the add-ons.
Yeah.
I like teleporting into Limsa and hearing bards playing tunes. And they're not playing it by hand. They're playing it with an add-on that loads the score of whatever they're playing. I mean, I like the Instagram models that, have really pretty pictures of their characters doing stuff. Like, that's cool.
I mean, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the folks at Squeenix like these things too. They can't condone them, but like, this makes their game look really good and gets people interested in it.
Can confirm. Definitely things that game devs cannot officially condone, but think are cool.
And the thing is like, I do wonder if we are heading towards a zero tolerance policy, and it's on a lot of fronts. So like, Square has been upping their game in what they're trying to do with their engine. So like, they're overhauling the graphics of the game at some point. We've seen previews of it, which would make it look a lot more like the really heavily modded reshade stuff. So I do think we're eventually coming down to a policy of zero tolerance and actually running spyware on your computer to snoop for it, to ban you if you're running it. And this was all brought on because people started talking about Fight Club.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's why I have no sympathy for folks getting banned.
And it's not like it was really ambiguous either.
Yeah. Like, people getting a timeout for doing something that is just blatantly against the rules. I have no sympathy. And ruining it for all the people who were being cool about it.
Right. And it's not that it's a new thing. Like, it has been this way since the beginning. Like, this has been the policy, and you've gotta ruin it for everybody. Like,
just be cool. It's not that hard.
So, I mean, like, my stance is if you see a streamer with add-ons, like, they should be banned. Simple as that. Like, I mean, not perma-banned, but at least put them in the jail for a while. Shove their nose in until they learn their lesson. But apparently that is a very caustic and controversial stance.
Don't you understand that the players should be able to do whatever they want?
Well, the ones that are driving me insane are the people people should want to do better because they're on the whole parsing side of this. Like, you should want to do better. You should be always trying to improve yourself. You should thank people when they tell you suck. I mean, that's a hyperbolic version of what I've heard, but like,
But
yeah.
not that hyperbolic.
And the thing is, like, it all comes down to the discussion we had a few weeks ago. Not everyone plays games to be competitive. Some people play games just because it's a toy that you can do stuff and have fun and escape reality for a while.
Yeah, I don't need my Final Fantasy 14 to be another job. Thanks.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see where this goes because, like, I think they really don't want to enforce it, but they're going to have to.
I think they're going to be pushed into it.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't want to lay this all on the shoulders of the WoW folks, but it escalated quickly once we had the big influx. Yeah.
I mean, if you're used to a game that lets you cheat bosses,
well, and
at what point would you think, oh, I shouldn't do that? And like, it's one of those things where it's like, I say cheat bosses and I realize it's a little dismissive, but like
Final Fantasy does give you the tools to know exactly what is coming up in every single fight. And WoW mostly doesn't. So you need an add-on for that.
Yeah. And so it's like, when you're so used to needing an add-on, it's like, oh, you know that you are a hardcore player doing hardcore stuff if you've got the right add-ons set up. It's like step one. I can absolutely see going into another game and being like, okay, I know how this
I got to get my add-ons. I got to get my raid add-ons.
Let's get set up. Let's get it set up to do this properly.
And again, the problem is Blizzard for years has largely abdicated that role to that of the add-on creators. Like, we're not going to give you good visualization in these fights because there's add-ons for it.
Yeah, like it's gotten worse because the assumption is you have an add-on.
Right, but even then they had a step too far.
Yes.
Because there was the augmented reality mod that they just cut out entirely.
It did really make things way too easy.
But like the add-on I saw this week in action was basically an augmented reality add-on for 14, where it draws paths on the ground that you need to move to avoid attacks. So I mean, like, that's going to be the step that causes it to lock down. But I don't remember what WoW raider it was. It was somebody that was a world first raider, and like he said that like his concern is this is a game that the mod authors could just crack wide open since everything is timed. Not necessarily that it's not always that something is going to happen at 4 minutes, something is going to happen at 6 minutes, but it is absolutely going to happen an amount of time after a thing fires.
Yeah, it's based on, health percentage hits a certain point.
Right.
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
There's nothing that really happens random in 14. Everything is a scripted sequence of events because, like, it's a dance. Like, you have to learn the dance. It's about memorizing it and then executing flawlessly on it. And if you can script out an add-on to do all the things in the right order, or at least tell you they're coming, that lowers the barrier of a lot of the fights.
Well, one of the most frustrating parts about WoW was how much is RNG going to screw you today?
Yep.
Like, how much is she going to deep breath this time?
Right. We got a bad phase, wipe it up, let's try again. I mean, and that was true for vanilla. Like, it's not a thing that didn't exist at the beginning of the game, but it got far worse because their answer for dealing with add-ons was to put more random elements in.
And you know what I never got in WoW that I loved? Again, I realized that I enjoy grinding my face into walls. I loved the feeling of mastering Nail. Like, I enjoyed, hey, I know every single second of the turn 9 Nail fight.
Yeah.
Because I've ground my face into it. And I'm like intentionally reordering certain bits of my rotation because I think I can eke out an extra attack if I do things this way.
Right. And that's a whole other level that's available too. Like there is doing the fight and not dying, and then there's doing the fight and doing it optimally.
And like in Nail, it was like, oh man, I probably want to use I probably want to use this attack on cooldown, but like I want this movement because I want to do a charge on Nail the second he teleports away from me. So I know when that happens, so I'm gonna save it for that moment. And I can like look at my rotation and decide if that makes DPS sense or not. Also, that was incredibly dangerous because he immediately attacked afterwards, so I had to dive bomb into a rollback. I never pressed the rollback on my Dragoon, but I did on the Nail fight. Whatever. The first part of that fight was mostly trivial at some point, and I was just super bored of it, and so I was trying to make it interesting somehow.
Yeah, there was a pretty long time while we were working on that one that we had everything up to Giant Pillar of Hate falls just down. So yeah.
Well, so the other piece of this that doesn't get discussed is like, I believe part of the problem is that a lot of raiders expect that if they're not making instant progress, they're somehow failing.
Oh.
And whatever you can do to, game the system to make it to where you can clear a new boss every single night is the right answer. Whereas, like, how many weeks did we throw our faces against Nail? Like,
a lot.
I think it was,
Too many,
I think
to
it
be
was
fair.
months, not just weeks.
It was, quite a long time.
But, like, that made the final victory feel way cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also to be fair, like, this is where maybe the whole streaming ecosystem is not necessarily the best thought out thing ever.
Yeah.
Because I would not have even with the fun as it was hanging out with everybody while we were trying this boss and getting frustrated in some cases and joking around and so forth, like, I would not have wanted to watch us do that for months.
Yeah. No.
No.
It would have sucked.
That did not make good television.
No, like, good media is scripted. It's why we have writers. If you don't have if you don't have control of the story, then you're not that exciting. That it's not going to be that exciting to watch. Like,
yeah, but the new meta for streaming is watching television on stream and reacting just enough for it to legitimately reaction content.
Yeah,
because it's easy content.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing there is like, hey, what if we capture the feeling of watching TV with friends?
Yeah.
I don't know. My stream was apparently 5 hours of me grinding my face off on a single screen.
I mean,
I did it.
Like, anybody that tunes in for a Celeste mod stream knows what they're getting in for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a brand of masochism that, like, I think they know what they're in for.
It's fun. I get to learn slowly, inch by inch, pixel by pixel.
I mean, I feel like a lot of the Dark Souls streams, people enjoy watching failure there more than a failed state in other games.
I did watch a really... I kind of agree with it, is a video about how Dark Souls failures are also incredibly comedic, and like it has a natural comedy to the entire progression.
Yeah, I feel like people just like to watch streamers to see the streamer's reaction.
I mean, if you have a good patter going on and can laugh at your own misfortune in a funny way,
yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah,
but
that can be engaging.
But like that's improv. That's improv acting. And yeah, that's absolutely a skill. And honestly, if you had a good enough improv actor streaming, you could watch months of them wipe against the same boss in FF14, and as long as they didn't run out of material, it would be entertaining.
I mean, that's admittedly what makes Loading Ready Run streams great, is they're all really good improv actors.
Yeah.
It's just that, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but many streamers are not as good as improv acting as they would like you to believe.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, you don't have to be.
Yeah, not everyone is meant for improv. It's okay.
I do think that I I think I'm on the side. Like I've been kind of going back and forth, but I think I'm on the side of team. Don't make the fights easier. I wish there were some ways to. I wish there were some gates that would allow us to do some useful modding in games without having it impact combat. But I feel like maybe it's just better to not allow mods.
I think it depends on the type of game. Like, if it is a single player scenario, then whatever you do with your game is your choice.
Yeah.
If it is a multiplayer scenario, then no, mods shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm even willing to go with multiplayer games where, like, multiplayer games that don't have matchmaking. Like multiplayer games where, like, Wildermyth or Gloomhaven. Like, if you want to mod those games, whatever.
Right. That are not like just I'm gonna match you with a bunch of random people.
Yeah.
And like, if your friend is running a mod and you know they're running a mod, that's fine. You figured out that was okay. Like, house rules are fine.
Yeah, like that's basically what house ruling does. And depending on your group, like that's what house rules are for. Like, depending on your group, you adapt the game in ways that make it better for you and the people you're playing with. But when you're talking about thousands of people, like,
I mean, it would be the same as changing the rules of basketball in the games that one particular team plays in the NBA. Like, that just doesn't work.
But I mean, and with that comes a responsibility on the part of the development side to ensure that accessibility concerns are approached and covered.
Yeah,
because mods for accessibility to make your game playable by people who otherwise couldn't are vitally important.
Right. And that right now is the thing that the folks that want to run the sketchy mods are falling back on, is like, well, you'd ruin all the accessibility mods for everybody that needs those.
Yeah.
And I get that, but like, also Square should really put in colorblind mode. Like, that's a thing that should exist in the game already. Like, they should just do that.
Square has also come out and said that there are some mods that they support, and in fact, like one of the big mods, I believe accessibility mods were on the list, and so were like music macro mods were on the list of officially supported mods.
I mean, I feel like that's the answer, is to actually review the mods and have a list of what is allowed and what is disallowed. Or actually just have an allowed list.
Yeah, I think the allowed
anything that is not on the allowed list is because all you have to do is create a new mod and you're immediately safe.
I like that this game is able to doesn't have to be designed around the mods. Now, that said, I will grind my one axe, which is if you are a game that is going to have a DPS check that is tight enough that somebody operating, I'm even going to say it like 50% optimal DPS. If a raid is operating at 50% optimal DPS and they aren't making the check, like, you need to somehow let people know why is the DPS not there. Otherwise, it just leads to this situation where it's like, we lose and we don't know why. We did everything right and still lost. So I guess we have to do everything right-er.
I mean, I just agree. That's why they have Sky Sea and Stone.
Yeah.
So that you can check and make sure that you're putting out the amount of DPS that should be necessary for a given fight.
What is this?
It's a special
timed target dummy. I will let you know if you personally have the DPS on a standing still target dummy fight to clear a given fight.
And it's worth noting, those are tuned a lot higher than you actually need.
And they are tuned by class.
Yes. Yeah, they take your role into account. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
tuned. So, like, if you're a dancer, that's going to have less HP on it than if you're, say, a black mage.
Yeah. And, like, those are... I don't think it's just a role. I think it is actually by class.
It is actually by class.
Yeah.
Because, dancers are giving a whole lot of things that aren't their damage.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're support DPS.
And yeah, like I remember I remember smashing my face against that thing for a while when we were working on Titania, and I never quite got it perfect on. I couldn't reliably do the dummy, even though we could beat Titania. And like that's a good place to be. Like, tune it a little bit higher, because the reality of the encounter is going to be your DPS is going to drop because you're doing other things.
The fight is never that clean.
Yeah.
No.
Not in this game, anyway. They do not believe in patchwork fights.
No,
because patchwork fights are boring.
I agree.
They've done that as a thing that you had to beat up to get to the boss.
They have.
To show
that was actually kind of funny.
To show that you were tall enough to ride this ride.
That was Faust and Alexander.
Yep.
That they did 3 times, the entrance to each wing. You must be this tall to ride.
I don't know. The big thing that like the DPS mods give people that zone doesn't give them is the ability to snoop on other people. And I think that really is what folks are wanting to fight for, is the ability to see that somebody is not doing or carrying their weight, and that's why they're failing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm willing to fight against.
Right. I don't want it. Like,
Yeah.
But also, like, that's outside the game anyway. Like, if you're running that, it shouldn't be visible on stream.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a separate thing.
That's the thing part of this that drives me insane is if it is on your screen, on your stream, which it's on a lot of people's screens on streams, that means you're doing it on purpose. Because if you just stream the Final Fantasy XIV window, it's not going to show any DirectX overlays, because those are overlays. They're rendered on top of the screen, not the actual screen. So like if they've carefully arranged their screen to show DPS meters, they're doing it on purpose. Like, that's a thing, that's a decision they made.
Yep.
There is almost no utility that I think is worth enabling players to be toxic to one another.
Yes.
I mean, I do agree with this.
I would sooner redesign the core mechanics of the game than I would give players those tools.
Yeah.
Maybe DPS checks shouldn't be a thing. If the only 2 options are make them frustrating because you don't know what's causing you to fail, or give players toxicity tools, maybe we just shouldn't have DPS checks.
In all the situations that I could think a DPS check might exist, could actually be harder if the penalty for not meeting the DPS is having to do another dance.
Yeah,
what I mean by like, so like
FF14 fights have, I mean, the DPS checks are no longer as strict as they used to be back in the Alexander days.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they are in Ultimates, but that's Ultimates.
Yeah.
But basically, I guess I'm saying that they've gotten better at designing fights such that your DPS checks, you get the answer to your DPS checks rather quickly.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not, oh, we got to the end of the fight and we hit the enrage. It's, we failed at phase, like, 2.
It's like there was
a
burn check.
That's more
and we
reasonable, I
failed it.
think.
Yeah.
And I think DPS checks like that are fine, provided you, I feel like there should be some sort of feedback on, hey, we as a raid did not make the DPS check. But also, like, I don't know.
There's so many ways to do that.
There are. I mean, there are so many ways that the game does it. I don't know. I feel like it should be blatantly obvious whether you were close or not close without a DPS meter.
Yes.
Yeah. And there should be other outside of the raid mechanisms to be able to gauge your own performance and learn how to improve.
And the thing is if folks want a team tuning functionality, then there should exist a team version of the Stone and Sea Sky.
Stone, Sky, and Sea.
Yeah, that thing. There should be a version of it that's a team encounter that'll tell you, like, as a team, are we doing what we should be doing? That is an activity that everyone is going into knowing that what they're doing is going to get clocked.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is you could very easily expand that functionality and be like, okay, here's a dance that you might have to do. that is testing a particular set of skills. See how your group reacts to them. Here's a certain amount of damage that's going to be going out. See how your healers react to it. You can. It takes work, but you can have a raid training facility in your game. It just requires a lot of intentionality.
I mean, if you're willing to go in and do an ultimate or an EX or something, then you should be willing to go in and do training with your static. So,
Yeah. And the thing is like, I think another aspect that hasn't been talked about is the one-upsmanship that comes from people uploading their parses to show that they're better than someone else.
yeah.
Tools for players to be toxic.
Yep. Anyway, we spent longer on that than I thought we would.
Turns out we have opinions.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, I feel like this is the opinions coming from a bunch of grizzled old raiders.
Yeah, we've been through all of this stuff
In different iterations in different games. There is one last topic that I think we're going to kind of preview. I will hand that over to Tam. Tam did a thing.
So, I don't know. Sometimes, I guess I play a lot of games. Big shocker, I'm sure. And when I have games that trip my game of the year like criteria are games where it's like when I get into them, I can think of nothing else. And the pinnacle of that for me is a game where I pick it up, boot it up on a lark, especially on a night where I'm like, I don't really feel like playing a game, but maybe I'll start this just to see what it is. And then don't stop until I've seen credits possibly multiple times. And so that's Citizen Sleeper for me. I have not, it has been a little while since I have sat down with a game and played it all the way through without a break. Like to the point where it was like 2:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. And I like was blinking my way through through credits and realized that I needed a drink of water.
Yeah, I at least waited till last night to do this very thing.
And as a game that I can't even remember where I originally heard about it. It was one of those like, I bet nobody else is like, this is like, it's so easy to miss. So I was like, okay, everyone at least needs the opportunity to easily play this.
So the funny thing is like I had already heard of it before it started getting talked about in AggroChat chat. I just hadn't had a chance to look at it yet. I don't remember where I had heard about it.
And part of it is just like, I want other people to play this so that I can determine if this game is just really great or if I'm just crazy. Because I believe either. Like maybe it just happens to hit the exact right way at the exact right time. I'm willing to accept this, but also like, I'm really interested in all of the things this game is doing.
Maybe it's really good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's really good and everyone should play it and then we'll all talk about it.
I tend to agree with that. Yes.
Mhm.
Because it is. And also mushrooms.
Do a lot of things with mushrooms.
Yeah, they're very important.
I'm looking forward to talking about this later.
All right. Well, in that case, I think that's the show. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, and pending anything else gets in the way, we'll see you again next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya.